It's kind of an addictive thing, this altruistic volunteering. It gives you that positive feeling too. Yeah. And like I said, it connects you to your community. It deepens your relationships, because when you can identify and connect with someone on a relational basis on serving basic needs, that gives you a whole nother level of connection with those people around you.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searens, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast, where we discuss thoughts, strategies, and actions to help you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. I'm your host, Scott Searens, and today we've got a great show for you. A lot of our shows have been focused on the wealth and retirement side of things, but today we're going to focus on the life side of things. We're going to talk about giving back. We're going to talk about being involved, making a positive impact in the lives of others. So if that's been something that's on your mind, I tell you what, today we're going to talk about all of the ways to potentially give back. That could be volunteering your time, making financial contributions, or maybe you have other resources that are available to you that could help out different organizations. So if you're someone who's just looking to get started, or if you're someone that's already a volunteer and you're looking for additional ways that you can help, or maybe you're retired, you have more time and you want to continue to stay active in your retirement, or maybe you're a business owner and you're looking for additional ways to support your community. Maybe you're someone that is a manager or in human resources and you're looking for ways to build culture and help others. If you fit any of those profiles, I'll tell you what, this show is for you. We've got a special guest with us, Leslie Blake, who is the Executive Director of Big Brothers, Big Sisters, McHenry County, an organization. I'm actually a big brother myself, so I'm very happy to have Leslie with us today to talk about all of these different ways that people can either volunteer or donate and really spark some thoughts, new ideas for people listening in to think maybe how can they help. And so, Leslie, first off, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Oh, great. So excited to have you. And Leslie, if you would, maybe share with everyone listening a little bit about what is Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and maybe a little bit about your history as well and kind of the nonprofit organizations.
Sure. So Big Brothers Big Sisters of McHenry County has been around for over 35 years, serving our local community. All of the money and all of the volunteers and all of the children who are served are in McHenry County, but we are part of a national affiliate of Big Brothers Big Sisters Nationals. We are all about one-to-one mentoring for children, and we do that to ignite the power and potential of youth. And our vision is that all youth achieve their full potential, which I think is something everyone can agree on. Is a pretty great vision.
Yeah, right?
And we accomplish that through our three main mentoring programs. So we have a lunchtime mentoring program where adult mentors are able to go into the schools and mentor a child during their lunch period once a week during the school year. We also have an after-school mentoring program where high school students are able to go to an after-school program and mentor elementary and junior high school students in a staff-supervised setting in an after-school program. And then our third program is our community-based mentoring, and that's what Scott knows very well. It's one of our best-known mentoring programs where an adult mentor is paired with a child, and they are able to go out in the community to do various activities, whether that be taking the dogs for a walk, going to check out a baseball game, whether it's going to a restaurant or learning a new skill or supporting each other in different ways. So through all three of those programs, we have mentoring throughout McHenry County.
Now, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and this just blew my mind. So how many big brothers, big sisters, right? So the other portion of that is what you call the littles, right? Those that are being mentored. How many littles are currently in the program?
Yeah, we're hovering right around 500. So that is a wonderful number that we're glad to serve, but there's also always kids on our wait list waiting for a big to step up and want to be a mentor.
And what's the age range?
Yeah, so our programs serve kids between 6 and 18.
Okay.
When the child starts in the program, we like them to start between the ages of 6 and 14. The reason being that then they've already established their relationship with their big once they've hit those teenage years that can sometimes be difficult. So we like them to start in the program between 6 and 14, but they graduate when they turn 18.
How cool is that? I mean, 500 lives in one county, right? So that's just McHenry County, right? 500 lives in one county being impacted in a positive way because of your organization. I think that's totally cool.
Yeah. Well, and we like to say it's not just 500, it's 1,000, right? Because it not only impacts the child's life, it impacts the big and the mentor's life, which I'm sure you know all about that.
Well, you've hit on something I can't wait we're going to make that part of our conversation here today, because you are totally correct. And I can't wait to share my experience as a big brother. Because, yes, it has had a huge impact on my life from just a very positive way. As we get into kind of talking about the different ways, I'll definitely share that, because I want people to understand, how impactful not only is it for the person that you're helping, but gosh, it always gives something back to you as well. And actually thinking about that, so I want to kind of give this analogy to folks, because I think hopefully as we're talking today, my goal is just to really open people's minds. Okay. And so I want you to think about this. So for folks that are listening, think about this, or actually you can do it, right? And I want you to put both of your hands in front of you face up. And in each of those hands, think about this. I want in your right hand, just think that you've got time and money in there. And in your left hand, think that you've got time and money in your left hand, right? Now, with your two hands open, face up, just close one of them, okay? And now think about this. If I were to, and so you've got one fist that's closed, meaning you're really close to that time and money. Now, if I were to come across these two hands and sprinkle something on top, right? What happens to that closed fist? Bounces off, doesn't it? Or it hits the floor, or it goes somewhere else. But if I was to sprinkle something on the open hand, it catches it, right? And here's where I was going with this, is I am a big believer that the universe will reciprocate what you put out. And while the main goal is helping somebody else, right, having that open hand, being open to helping and supporting others, what I have found is that the universe also reciprocates. To your point earlier, 1,000 people impacted, not just 500, right? And could be reciprocation in providing a new connection, or helping you at a time when you may need some support yourself. Or maybe it's just having that positive impact on your life. And so I'm really excited today. What we're going to talk about is, I think that, there's ways that people can give when it comes to time. And whether it's for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, or whether it's for any other organization that you volunteer towards or that you are passionate towards, my goal today is that people are just kind of sparked about ways that they can help and give back and support others, right? I'm going to continue to say, making a positive impact on somebody else's life. And so, like I said, hopefully today, this helps you, it sparks some ideas, maybe some thoughts, whether you're already involved and maybe it's kind of some new thoughts, whether you're a company manager looking to help out, looking to build your culture. I think this will really spark some of those ideas. So let's start with the time side of things, right? Let's say people, they might have some time, maybe they've got a lot of time, they've got a little time, but let's just talk about all of the different ways that you see that people can volunteer. And so what are some of the different ways?
Yeah, we have a lot of different options to volunteer. Usually people think right away of becoming a big, right? Either in our lunchtime, after school, or community-based program. That is a wonderful volunteering opportunity, but it is a real commitment. There is a time commitment. You're stepping into a child's life who maybe is used to adults not sticking around or adults not following through on their commitments. So when you go through the process to become a big, we really take you through the thought process steps to make sure that this is something that you can commit to, this is something that you can stand by, and something that you can really, spend the amount of time that is needed. I'm not saying that to intimidate someone into not becoming a big, but I think it's a really important, self-reflection on whether this is something that you're able to do. And the nice thing is that the community-based program versus the lunchtime program has two different kinds of time commitments. The lunchtime program happens once a week during the lunch hour, so it's an hour or less, and it's only during the school year. So when holiday break happens, spring break happens, summer break happens, the amount of connection time decreases for those times. Whereas community-based, that lasts throughout the entire year. So becoming a big is definitely a wonderful volunteering opportunity that is extremely rewarding. We also have some other volunteer opportunities that are a little bit more either sporadic or a little bit more varied. So
back to the community-based and
lunchtime.
Mm-hmm. And so how often is the lunchtime again?
Once a week. During the school year.
So when
the school is open, they are there.
For an hour.
Right?
So think about that. I mean, just 1 hour a week, sitting down, having a conversation with a child, just answering whatever's on their mind, talking to them about life. Maybe they've got some questions about life. It's just having a good, productive conversation, right?
Sure.
And I've known some people that have done the lunch-based, actually some clients of mine, and they totally enjoyed it. And they said sometimes they're just sitting there and playing games too, right? Like it's not always, there's no pressure to do one thing versus the other. It's just having that interaction with the child to continue to help them build and mature in their life. Is that a good way to put it?
Definitely. And we have wonderful corporate partners who own businesses who encourage their staff to do that and to take that 1 hour a week. And they have found returns on that investment from a business standpoint because it gives those employees that break once a week. It helps them to feel value, that their company supports them supporting their community, which has its own trickle-down effect. And it also puts you in a great mood. I mean, who wouldn't be in a great mood after spending an hour with an adorable kid playing board games? It puts everything in perspective of, sometimes as adults, we get into the grind of everyday life. Everybody needs to remember that childlike part of themselves. And so being part of the lunchtime program gives you that break in your week. And most of the adults who are in our lunchtime mentoring program say that that's their favorite day of the work week, is the day that they know that they're going to go and be able to see their little that day. So it has a serious return on investment, not only from the individuals who are volunteering, but from the companies who support those programs, because it ties those employees to those companies. I mean, all of the research is out there about the younger generations say that they're expecting their employer to not just compensate them, but to support their philanthropic goals. This is a wonderful way that a company can support that and give those volunteer staff members the opportunity to do that with their lunchtime.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's so much going on in each of our lives, but to really have a good, well-balanced life is kind of all sort of figure out in your life how to give back and support others, right? And I can see as you're talking here, just the smile on your face, because you must obviously see the smile on the faces of the people that, yes, they take their lunchtime from work to go and sit down with somebody, and they're having such a great time doing that. And the fact, and you were saying earlier, now how many schools, which is roughly how many schools are you working with?
We're in about 28 schools.
So 28 schools. So if you think about accounting, 28 schools, I mean, yes, there's employers all over the place. There's got to be a school that's close to them to be able to let them say, okay, hey, yep, you've got some drive time there, you've got some drive time back. But the experience that you're providing for both the employee but as well as the child is just, I mean, you can't put a dollar value to that.
No, not at all. And especially after the last couple of years we've had and the social isolation that has happened for both children and adults, the highlight that created in their days is huge. So, for example, we have we have many lunchtime matches that are wonderful, but we have one in particular who, during the height of COVID, when everyone was self-quarantined, the big decided that she was going to do pizza parties for her little. So every week, once a week, when they had their lunchtime mentoring, they met on Zoom, but the big would have a pizza delivered to the little's house so that they could enjoy a pizza together and play with their pets together and have a wonderful time on Zoom. So it's that kind of connection, that kind of interpersonal connection that we need as human beings now more than ever. And that's something that is provided not only for our littles, but for our bigs as well.
That is so cool. All right, so let's talk then about like the community base. And that's what you'd consider myself, right?
Yes, correct.
The community based. Okay, so I want to share my experience. So I've been a big brother for 10 plus years now. Sorry, that's it. Once it hit 10, I think it was just kind of like, okay, hey, it's a lot, right? And it's been a ton of fun all those 10 years with the same little. And I remember this is so a couple stories. One is I remember starting with my little, and we would go somewhere, right? And just so people understand, it's never had to be anything extravagant, right? And I don't want people to overthink this either, right? Like, yes, we've done some really fun things, but sometimes too, we just go to the park and play sports, or we go and hang out and just play video games, or we go bowling. My little loves bowling. I mean, we've gone bowling a lot over those years, but sometimes it's asking them, what do you want to do? I want to go bowling. Great. But we're having good open communication and conversations during that event. So it's for me, it was kind of, hey, what's in a good activity, but more or less in that activity, how are we connecting? So starting a long time ago, right? And so cool. When we started this relationship, my little was at an age, so around, say 5 or 6, where he had to sit in the back of my car, right? The back seat, right? Because all laws and rules and everything, and we follow all the laws and rules. And this year, he called me the day that he got his driver's license. How cool is that, huh?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just amazing to watch him grow, mature, and just build as a, awesome young adult. But it was, like you said, it impacts two people, because the day that he got his driver's license, literally sitting in the parking lot of the DMV with his mother, and I was the first call from his cell phone. And I'll tell you what, that just like totally lit up my day. I mean, to have him call me and say, Scott, I got my driver's license, because we'd been working on that and practicing and talking about all the rules of the road. And that just made my day. And so wanted to share that story with everybody because, yes, it just has a huge impact on me as well. And, throughout our 10 plus years together, there's been so many times where, yes, when you're with somebody, you're always kind of wondering, hey, are they paying attention? Are they listening? Are they, but that example that you're setting for them, they're constantly paying attention. I'm sure you see this all the time. And there's been so many times where my little, when we would go to do something or would be out, to just grab dinner or whatever it might be, and he would do something, I'd say, well, where'd you learn that? And he's like, well, you taught me. And it's just those small things that really, I'm so glad to be able to make that impact on his life, but those little things that really have made such a positive impact on my life as well.
Oh, of course. And it's not about the money or about, anything like that. It's about the quality of time that you're spending with him.
Yeah. Yep. And you're right. There's, we just have had such great times, and it does take time, right? And that, what do you want to say, commitment. And if you've got the ability to provide that time and commitment, I'm going to say there's just such great payback towards yourself, right? And it's not a financial payback. It's just the way that you feel when it all's said and done, and it's totally, totally cool. Now, let's just say, Leslie, that somebody says, okay, hey, I don't necessarily have a lot of time to give. I don't have the hours each and every week or each and every month. So that was what today's all about, right? All the different ways people can volunteer. So what are some other ways that then people can volunteer their time?
Yeah, we have a lot of different opportunities. And what I'll say is, whether it's with our organization or another nonprofit, you'd be surprised how many volunteer opportunities and talent opportunities there are. So some of those ways that we can have that volunteer interaction and not be we have various events. So these are fundraising events that we have. And leading up to those events, we need volunteers to help silent auction basket items. So these are people who maybe have connections in their community, have the desire to, take a walk around a downtown district and see if there's any interest in donating items. So those are kind of wonderful volunteering opportunities that are not as time bound. It's not you're coming from 1 to 2 o'clock or you're required to put in so many hours. It's more open-ended. We also need volunteers for the day of those events. So those volunteers can do things like help run the event. They can help to steward donors at the event, make sure that people know where things are. They can help people to check out at the end of the event, but there's always day of event volunteers needed as well. Then we have kind of like outside of the box things. So we have a wonderful building that we've acquired, and usually we have groups of volunteers who will want to come and help with landscaping update, whether it be spreading mulch or weeding or doing other projects around there. We also have a gardening group who can come and they can plant flowers, and it's a wonderful group that gets together and they're able to talk and kind of kibitz as they're putting together the garden. So we have other volunteering opportunities like that. We also have some wonderful people who just want us to keep their name and phone number, and when we have a large mailing and we need help stuffing envelopes, they're like, just call me. I'd be happy to come in and help for that period. So we're able to call them kind of as needed when we have those kind of projects that come up, which you'd be surprised how frequently stuff like that happens. We also have volunteers who will go and help man booths. So for example, at the Algonquin Commons, usually every holiday season, we have gift wrapping that we have to send volunteers to wrap gifts, and then the Algonquin Commons returns a donation to us. So there's kind of odd volunteering that happens throughout the year. Fall Diddly and Fair Diddly, which are put on by the Mental Health Resource League, are another great opportunity to volunteer. You're able to go to a craft fair, volunteer a few hours of your time, and then go shop for Christmas decorations afterwards, or whatever the case may be. So there's always throughout the year different various opportunities to volunteer. And then on top of that, it's that talent piece, right? So let's say you have an affinity for marketing and creating marketing materials. We can use help in that way. If you are an IT person and you want to help us with our IT stuff, we have an opportunity there. If you're a handyman, we have lots of stuff that, always comes up, this thing's here or whatever is happening. So I would say whatever your talent is, I'm sure that there's a nonprofit who can utilize it. So just give us a call, have a conversation. And it's not always what your career is, which I think is an important thing to point out, because sometimes people say, well, for example, I work in the IT field. That's the last thing I want to do with my volunteer time is what I do at work. So my real passion is I like to garden. Great. We'll find you a volunteer project that has to do with gardening, for example. So I think it's thinking of your talent, your time, how you want to spend your time, and I guarantee you that we can find a spot for it. And if for whatever reason we can't, we are always about referring to our other fellow organizations that serve our community, because it's really connecting people and their passions to the missions that take that work and make it a reality for the community.
And just hearing about all these opportunities, it obviously says that your organization, as well as many other organizations, aren't able to do what they're able to do on the front line supporting the littles if it's not for all of these volunteer hours that are behind the scenes as well.
Oh, yeah. Our mission would not be able to exist with volunteers. I mean, especially our mission, as we are a volunteer-driven mission. But I would say I can't think of a nonprofit in McHenry County that would be able to exist without any volunteerism. And there's other things like our board of directors is a group of volunteers. That's another volunteer-based position that a lot of people don't think of as volunteers, but they really are. They're volunteering their time to come to board meetings and to stay updated on the agency and all of the things that are happening. So there is a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of collaboration between nonprofits in McHenry County. So like I said, if anyone has a passion project or they have something that they want to get involved in, let's get you started, because I guarantee you once you start volunteering your time, that you're not going to want to stop. It's kind of an addictive thing, this altruistic volunteering. It gives you that positive feeling too. Yep. And like I said, it connects you to your community. It deepens your relationships, because when you can identify and connect with someone on a relational basis on serving basic needs, that gives you a whole nother level of connection with those people around you. So, I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, you're not only helping and supporting and giving back, but you're making connections along the way, right? I'm guessing rarely there's volunteer opportunities where there's just one person in a room doing something by themselves. Like, you're always going to probably be around people. You're going to be connecting with people. Yes. What a great time. And I mean, just listening to that spectrum, right? So, I mean, we've got from anywhere that if somebody has an hour a time, an hour a week to hours each and every month to I've just got an hour and how can I help? And I think hopefully this is really spurring just thoughts, ideas, like you said, for folks of, hey, I'm really passionate about this. So Leslie, is there an opportunity for me here? But it sounds like everyone's so well connected too that if there's not that opportunity for them necessarily with yourself, you're going to say, hey, but I know there's this maybe opportunity for you over here to volunteer, or because you're so passionate about X, I want to really get you connected with this organization here, because that will also help you lead you down the path of serving two ways, serving others, but serving your passions as well, which I think is totally cool.
Yeah, because no nonprofit in McHenry County or anywhere for that matter lives in a vacuum, right? We're here to mentor children, but children's lives are impacted by so many different variables. So if your passion is healthcare or your passion is the environment, we can connect you with an agency that does that, or we can refer you. But like I said, it's a wonderful experience to volunteer. And if you're unsure about it, give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? Just kind of put yourself out there, and you'll be surprised at how wonderful an experience it can be.
I completely agree with you. So kind of wrapping up on the time portion of it, right? Hey, the person who's got time, and whether you're, I mean, we just went through so many things, right? So whether you're an individual, whether you're family, whether you're young, whether you're, maybe retired, whether you're a company, whether you're just a department within a company, a lot of different ways to reach out to support others through your time, through volunteering. And it could be an hour, it could be an hour a week, it could be, it's just so flexible.
Oh, it's huge. Right? And one of our biggest demographics that have been volunteering for the past few years are people who have become empty nesters. So they're reaching that age that their kids have either gone off to college or have moved out of the house, and they want to impact a child's life. And so they're coming back and coming into our mission to be able to do that. Same thing with retirees. People who have worked for their career are used to working full time, and they're looking for a way to give back but still have fun. What's more fun than playing a board game with a kid or impacting children?
Yep.
I can't think of anything that's more wonderful than that.
That's awesome. Great. Okay. So let's talk then about some other ways to give back, right? So one is time, but maybe there's also folks out there that could, help and give back financially through contributions or donations. So maybe, because sometimes when, again, this is to spur thoughts and ideas, and sometimes people hear that and they say, well, I don't have a lot of money, or I could help financially, So maybe walk us through some of the different ways that people can contribute. And I guess I've been saying financially, but I'm guessing that doesn't always have to be financially as well, right? So maybe walk us through some of the different ways people can contribute as well.
Sure. Well, one of the first things that you said, Scott, was about the amount. So some people feel like if they have $50, that's not impactful enough. That couldn't be farther from the truth. We have some wonderful donors we have this one gentleman who will come in and drop off his $50 check every month. We look forward to seeing him. He is the highlight of our day when he comes in, because he is donating that money because he really believes in our mission and it's impacted him and his life, and he wants to continue to give back. So the amount is not something that you should concern yourself with. There's never a time when a nonprofit is going to reject based on an amount, because it is impactful in any dollar amount. It helps us to make sure that our mission is able to continue. So that's the first thing. Contributing financially can be done in a wide variety of ways. Obviously, a individual check or online donation is an option. We also have those wonderful events that I had talked about. So the great thing about those events is that you're donating to the cause, but you're also getting an experience from that, and you're able to be around others who also are passionate about the same thing. So it's wonderful to see how many connections people have made by coming to our events and being around others who are also passionate about impacting kids. So that's another positive way that financially we can have some impact. There is also in-kind donations. So we do a lot of that. So people who are donating board games or sporting equipment or craft supplies that we're able to then turn around and make sure that it's impacting our kids in various ways. We had a school supply drive happen at the beginning of the school year. When the holidays come about, we do a holiday gift drive where we collect gift cards and other items that we're able to then make sure goes down to our littles so that they can have a wonderful holiday season as well. So there's a lot of other in-kind ways. Same thing with those silent auction baskets that I mentioned earlier. We have some wonderful people who, they're shoppers, right? They like to go to TJ Maxx or Home Goods or whatever local establishment that you really like to visit. And they put together these wonderful baskets that then they donate to the agency that then we're able to raffle off for a profit. So there's a lot of other items and other things that can be donated that impact us financially, because if they were not donated, we would have to go out and purchase them and acquire them. Another type of financial impact that sometimes people don't think about, but I think is a wonderful idea. People will do birthday fundraisers. So once we're adults, maybe getting like gifts on your birthday doesn't have the same effect as you do when you're a child. So what people do is on social media, in lieu of gifts, they'll do a birthday fundraiser where people are fundraising and giving the money to our agency rather than it going to the individual in the form of a gift. So we've had wonderful people who have done those for various things. We've had people put on at companies a dunk tank. So for example, they'll get a dunk tank and they'll charge people to dunk their boss or whatever the case may be, and then they donate that money back to the agency. Or Jean Fridays. So a company allowing employees to wear jeans on Friday if they put in $5 as a donation, for example.
I hope right there that sparks some ideas, right? I mean, plenty of people still at work, and I think businesses right now are looking for so many different ways to build culture, especially kind of part of the times that we're going through. And just right there, like there's so many ways to build culture and give back.
Oh, yes, for sure. And for those who maybe are doing some legacy planning, so maybe you're working with your financial advisor like a Scott or your CPA or whoever that person may be, thinking about the charities and the missions that matter to you and thinking about the legacy that will follow you after you're gone. So whether that be listing them in your will, whether that be listing them as a beneficiary of an insurance policy, whatever that may be, thinking about your living legacy, which I know these past couple of years, again, have had a lot more people think about that than maybe they have before. Now is a great time to review the new laws and regulations that could possibly benefit you or your children by giving, which is such a interesting concept that I don't think everybody realizes is sometimes it's not only this altruistic, I'm giving because I want to impact the mission. It can have a positive benefit for you and your children from a tax standpoint if you do that. So that's the other thing that I would encourage you, no matter what your passions are, think about that. Think about what you want to be left standing after you're gone.
Yeah. And so now the other part you were mentioning, and there was different events, and I'm certain a lot of those events too can't go on, or those events, part of, hosting those events is just looking for donations to help those events run. Right? Because I've been part of a lot of your different events, and the organization always does such a great job of making sure that there's lunch there or that there's drinks there, and so I'm sure a lot of that's coming as donations from different organizations as well. Is that true?
Oh, yes. Well, and that's something that I would say, if you're researching a nonprofit that you want to give to, understanding that nonprofits' financials is a really important part of that. Seeing how they spend their money and seeing how much goes back to the children. So, for example, for us, we recently had our golf outing in July. And as part of that outing, people are paying for an individual or a foursome ticket. Now, 92% of that enrollment is going right back to the mission because our dinner is donated by Bonefish Grill in Algonquin, our lunch is donated by Lou Malnati's, and our course greens fee through Boulder Ridge Country Club is partially donated. So it's a wonderful thing to know that not only are you golfing and you're paying to golf, but that the vast majority of your golfer fee is coming right back to the mission, which is a wonderful way to impact while having a great time on a golf course. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a wonderful day?
Yeah, 92%. That's awesome. I think that because that's always on somebody's mind, right? Like, okay, hey, if I'm providing this donation, how much goes back and impacts the actual mission?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's huge. But I think you've just mentioned here too, whether somebody wants to give from just whether it's a donation of money, but if somebody's like, oh, well, I really want to make sure that my impact is going directly to that child, as you said, well, you've done gift cards, right? You've done, I remember last year it was a toy drive, correct? Right? So people are bringing in toys and then those toys are going directly to the children in need. And so, I mean, there's just so many different ways to give. So if somebody says, hey, maybe I have time and the financial ability. Maybe I don't have the time, but I want to be able to give, right? There's just a lot of ways to still impact people and to help in all the different ways you just mentioned there. I mean, that's so awesome. So how about this? Tell me a little bit more about Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and maybe you can share some success stories or some statistics on how Big Brothers, Big Sisters is making an impact in McHenry County or across the world.
Oh, sure. So Big Brothers, Big Sisters, when I think about success stories, there's so many that come to my mind of children who have been part of the program, have been with their bigs from 6 to 18, have graduated, then have become bigs themselves as adults, and then coming back to the office and I'm getting to meet the original little and their big, and then that little's now little. So it's this kind of like generational wonderful impact that is able to happen because a lot of times our littles understand the impact that was given to them and they want to then give it back to kind of the next child who's coming up. So there's wonderful stories like that. There's a lot of kids, we like to say that every child comes to us with a unique set of circumstances that brings them to us. A lot of people misconceive us as a replacement for parenting. We are not a replacement for parenting. We have some absolutely wonderful parents that are part of our program and have their children enrolled. It's bringing in that extra mentor relationship. So sometimes a child comes to us because they are from a single parent household and maybe it's a little boy who has never had a positive male role model in his life. There's a lot of things that a little boy wants to talk to a man about and not go to mom about necessarily. So it's being able to introduce them into that. Some of our kids have general anxiety. Some kids have had a divorce in the family, or maybe there's a mental health or a physical health issue in the family. We have a lot of kids that are being raised by grandparents. And so maybe grandpa and grandma can't go outside and play baseball with little Johnny. So the big is able to step in and do that for them. So there's so many wonderful successes. A lot of them have to do with improving their social interaction, improving their academic grades, improving their behavior within the schools, which is another thing that we are constantly checking in on and measuring, making sure that they're adjusting and their coping skills are improving over time, and making sure that that connection is a really valuable thing for those kids for the future. So it's really important to point out that when you're matched with your little, it's not like you guys sail off into the sunset never to hear from the agency again. We have caseworkers that are regularly checking in with both the child, the parent, and the big to make sure that the relationship is being fostered in a positive way to help through challenges, not just challenges that might come up in the mentor relationship. Like, for example, I'm running out of ideas on what to do with my little, can you help me brainstorm? But it also can be challenges that are happening in the family. Again, the child is not in a vacuum. So there's all sorts of other things that are impacting them. And we're able to refer them to other resources throughout the community to help that. So there's been some absolutely wonderful stories of littles who are graduating, getting full scholarships to colleges. They're the first in their families to be able to go to college. We have littles who have their bigs at their weddings. So they've grown up to the point where they're marrying and their bigs are there. We had a big a few months ago who sent us a picture of her little had a child. She grew up, got married, had a child, and the big was there holding the baby and sending us a picture of, I can't believe how long this relationship has endured. So it's really an amazing program.
Yeah, and I want to commend you and your team on all the support that you give, because what you had mentioned earlier, as we do have those check-ins, as I've gone through this as a big brother, that we have those check-ins, and if I have any questions or thoughts, or like you said, I need help in, hey, I'm not currently a parent myself, so how would I handle this situation, or how would we discuss this situation, or can you give me some, additional ideas of how to discuss that situation? And your team has always been super supportive of different ideas, different thoughts, connect me with the right people to, make sure that the child is always getting the right support. And, things too, where, hey, we've done these activities and this activity. What are some other thoughts or ideas, right? It's like constantly getting thoughts and ideas from you and your team, and that's been super helpful, super supportive throughout the whole process, and it's just made it so easy.
Yeah, and we have a wonderful team of case managers that, that helpfulness starts from the very beginning when you inquire about becoming a big. Because part of our interview process and the onboarding process is obviously there's a lot of safety checks. Be ready to go through a lot of backgrounds with us to make sure that you will be an appropriate big to match with a child. But we also look a lot about your interests, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. We do have, littles in our program who have experienced various forms of abuse in their life. So we want to make sure that you as a big were able to talk through those kind of scenarios with you, so to know if you're comfortable or not comfortable being matched with a child who has experienced various forms of trauma. So that kind of involvement and engagement from the staff happens right from the beginning, which that's, one of the questions that sometimes we get is, okay, if it's a volunteer big with a child, then why do you need staff? If it's just matching a volunteer with a child, what is the need for paid staff? And really it's that case management piece. It's ensuring the safety and the effectiveness of the mentoring relationship to make sure that it's a positive experience for both the child and the adult, and that it's bringing the outcomes that we're looking for, which is, again, those improved metrics for the child.
Yeah, I mean, your team is just on top of it, and I think that, it's always putting the child first and just making sure everything's always headed down the right path, and that's just wonderful. So you said right now there's 500 connections out there, but you said there's a waiting list. So how about this? Where does Big Brothers, sounds like everywhere, right? You've said you've listed off so many volunteer opportunities today, and hey, we always, I'm certain that you can always use the contributions as well. That's what keeps the organization running and keeping providing support for the littles as well. Where right now do you need help?
Yeah, so I kind of like to think of our agency as a three-legged stool, right? And the three legs of the stool are the children who are in need of the service, the volunteers who are able to support them, and then the financial contributions that help us run, the agency overall. Right now, we have seen an increase in the number of child referrals for our lunchtime programs, especially in the Crystal Lake, McHenry, Cary area. So what I would say is we definitely need volunteers, especially for our lunchtime programs in those areas. However, all of our programs could benefit from volunteers. We also also continue to need to get the word out about our mission to parents or guardians about referring children to our program. So that's another really important thing. Sometimes people only think of big brothers, big sisters needing to be engaged if it's a single parent household. That's not necessarily the case. There's a wide variety, as I've said, of reasons for us to become engaged with that child. So get the word out. If you know that there's a family that maybe has some challenges that they've been facing, I mean, what family hasn't over the past couple of years, and that child could benefit from having another positive adult in their life, please refer them to the organization. We want to be able to serve the children throughout McHenry County. And then, of course, that third stool is the contributions stool, part of the stool. You know, that's something that we're always balancing. We are very fiscally responsible stewards of our donation dollars. Our board of directors and myself and the team really, assure that. However, as we start to serve more kids and start to serve more schools and expand, obviously the supportive infrastructure behind that has to also expand. So it's kind of an all in, all together. I will say this time of year, our holiday gift program is really in full swing, and we are always in need of other companies, social groups, sometimes groups of friends who get together. Instead of getting each other holiday gifts, they decide to collect gifts and then bring them as a donation. So they have their holiday party, but instead of gifts for each other, it's gifts based on youth, or it's a gift card collection where, everyone throws in gift cards to, Walmart or Target or to local establishments, and then they're able to donate those. So we've seen a really marked increase in that, which has a direct contribution for our families. And the nice thing about gift cards, rather than gifts, is then it gives the big and the parent an opportunity to select that gift for that child that's specific to them. So that's a big reason why we go with the gift cards, as well as it gives that flexibility. Plus, it's a little easier than carrying around sporting equipment and board games.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So, I mean, I like how you put that, right? That the three legs to the stool, and any different way a person can help out.
Yes.
And as you're saying, you could use their support.
Yes, and it's all throughout McHenry County. So that's, the complicating thing is, if we have bigs waiting in Harvard, but the littles waiting are in Cary, are we going to able to match them together? No, we need more littles in Harvard, bigs in Cary. So there's a geographical component. I think we all realize how large and wonderful this county is. So there's certain pockets that maybe need more bigs, certain pockets maybe need more littles. So we're constantly trying to balance that for the agency as a whole.
Oh, that's great. Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, for me, it was, I want to say 12 years ago, a friend who said, "Hey, Scott, I think that you would make a good big brother." And I had no idea about the organization, and introduced me to the organization now 10 plus years later, right? I mean, I've been able to help and support and make an impact on somebody else's life, but they've also made, as I shared some stories earlier, like a great, huge impact on my life. And I have learned just as much from them as they hopefully have learned from me and grown. And I bring that up because for me, it was a friend at 12 years ago, right, that said, "Hey, I want you to think about this," and kind of got me started. And I really hope today's conversation is helping others, right, learn about all of the different ways that they can volunteer or that they can donate, and that it's not necessarily maybe this one specific thing that they've always thought, right, that hopefully we've sparked thoughts, we've sparked ideas just for people to get out and to get involved and to give back and to make those connections. And the connections don't always have to be on necessarily with that little. If you're a person who says, "Hey, I'm kind of a more behind the scenes person," there's tons of ways to do that as well, right? And so I really hope it sparked those thoughts, sparked those ideas for people just to say, "Hey, I want to get started," right? Or I'm involved over here, but I want to now take that next step, or that company or that manager or that HR going, "Hey, let's get started with our organization and take those," or maybe they're already started, "let's take those next steps." And I thank you for all of your time. Now, if somebody wishes to connect with you and your team and wants to help out Big Brothers, Big Sisters, what's the way for them to connect with you and your team?
Yeah, so I will make sure that you have the link to our website, bbbsmchenrycounty.org. That's a wonderful resource that you can reach out to us at. You can also reach out at our office, which is 815-385-3855. You will also find a contact form on our website that you can reach out. Please give us a call. If you're kind of, have a little bit of nervousness of becoming a BIG, call us. We'll talk you through the process. We're really good about taking inquiries and really making sure that it's the right fit for you. So call anytime. And also, if you want some referrals to another place to volunteer, we're always happy to connect you with other causes that you're passionate about as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And so what we'll do, we'll include your website, social medias, we'll include your phone number. Everything will go in the show notes of the podcast. So if somebody's listening to the podcast, whether they're online, wherever they're at, right, they can go to lifemoneyshow.com. They can then go to this specific podcast, go to the show notes. We'll have links to all of your website. We'll make sure your phone number's on there. And thank you so much, Leslie, for coming in, sitting down. I know that you've provided just a wealth of information here for people, and hopefully we've helped them think about life a little bit differently and making those or taking those next steps and being involved, giving back, and making a positive impact on others. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. But before we end, I actually have a surprise for you.
What's that?
And this was voted on a month and a half ago. You and your little have been named our male match of the year.
Are you
for
kidding
community-based?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So this was perfect timing that this was happening, because I wanted to wait until this happened to let you know you guys have been a wonderful, wonderful match, a wonderful example of a long-term commitment to each other and to bettering your relationship. We will be happy to call your little and their family to let them know as well, but we will be honoring you in November at our big event.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I wish everybody could see the smile on my face. This is so cool. Well, hopefully it's like him turning 16. If it's okay with you, I'd love to just make the phone call to him and let him know as well. That would be so cool.
We would love it. And again, this is because of your years of commitment. When we're selecting the matches of the year, I mean, we look back through files. We really take some time, and your name rose right to the top. So thank you so much for your commitment.
I am so honored, and I'm speechless.
I've caught you off guard. I thought for once it would be nice for you to have to react.
Well, I am honored, and I will reiterate the impact that it's made on my life, and in such a positive way. So I'm an only child, and that was the other part of getting into Big Brothers Big Sisters. I didn't have any brothers or sisters. Mm-hmm. And some people would go, well, you're pretty lucky, right? And others would say, oh, maybe you'd want that family. And so for me, like I was saying, it's just been a huge impact for me as well to watch my little grow up, watch him mature, be part of his life, and provide any support and guidance as I could. And I'm beyond honored and very speechless. But thank you very much. That's so cool. Of course,
I'm glad to know I have the podcast interviewer speechless. That probably doesn't happen very often for you.
Well, Leslie, again, thank you so much for coming today and joining us and providing, like I said, a wealth of information for everyone listening.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Sierens Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.